Hi everybody, welcome to the Lot Pod, the Leeds Rhinos Lot 17A podcast, kindly sponsored by ACD&B, who are a branding and creative design agency based in Farsley, Leeds. They create standout brands, so for any companies out there that need a brand new logo or a brand refresh, just get in touch with ACD&B. Thanks as always to them for sponsoring us on the podcast with the fanzine. We love them very, very much. So this is the mailbag off the back of Leeds losing to Lee, which feels like 6 months ago, but it was actually last weekend, I think, as we record this. Joining me as always, my right-hand man, my co-host, but our amazing Statman Reese.
I'm a stat man.
Freeze.
How are you?
Yeah, all right. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Fully recovered from your stag do now.
Yeah, it took until I think Wednesday.
And when did from the Sunday?
Yeah, from the Sunday. Yeah,
To
so I feel
Wednesday and
actually
then-
slightly human again. Yeah,
Yeah. Catch
So,
up a
all
load.
good.
Yeah. If it were me, I don't drink anymore, but if I'd have drank what you did, it probably would have been 8 to 10 days. It would have took for me to get that out of my system. Just to-
Well, 6 of us have decided we're not drinking until my own wedding. I think that probably shows.
Sorry,
how
when do you get married again?
September, end of September.
Yeah, so it'd pretty much be a good
2
month
month
off.
cleanse.
A month cleanse, ready to hit it again for the wedding. We haven't done a mailbag for ages.
We haven't.
Ages. I think we haven't done a mailbag since the 20th of June. It's kind of slipped us by. I'm putting it down to the Rhinos form. And we just want to.
Me and you go. Do you want to? No.
No, we haven't spoke of it really. I don't know.
No.
We have to apologise, but it's just kind of slipped us by. But
I changed jobs, so I can use that as an excuse.
that's true. Yes, Reese changed jobs, so we're both utilised that excuse. So we do apologise for lack of mailbag. We've got a bumper mailbag now. We opened the mailbag, closed. It opened, and now we've got tons of pretty rugby league heavy mailbag. Would you agree with that, Reese?
Yeah, pretty.
Very rugby
In
league
fact,
heavy, which
nearly
is
all rugby league heavy.
yeah, pretty very so. Very rugby league heavy for you rugby league fans. If you are a regular, welcome as always. If you are new to us, we are predominantly a Leeds Rhinos podcast. We review all Leeds Rhinos games live, usually on a Sunday on our YouTube channel. If you just search for us on YouTube, the Lot Pod, see my massive bald head there and Reese's beard and his caps, and that's us. This is our mailbag podcast where it's pretty much our any other business podcast where we open the floor to our listeners, to our viewers, to our followers on X, send us our questions, and we answer them.
Did you just say X? Did you
X,
say
yeah.
X?
Twitter doesn't exist.
No, don't call it X.
No, I'm
It's
sorry.
Twitter.
Twitter doesn't exist anymore. People need to accept that.
Oh,
X. If you want to get in touch with us on X, you can. At the Owl and Fleece, that's Reese's Twitter page, and at Lot 17A or the Lot Pod is our. I said Twitter then anyway.
I know you did that.
And we also have an email address, lot17a@outlook.com. We are going to do the mailbag, but we think it's a good place to start with Leeds Rhinos women versus St Helens women in the Challenge Cup final, because this was a momentous day for Women's Rugby League, with it being played at Wembley, the Challenge Cup final being played at Wembley for the first time. Live broadcast on BBC Two. It felt like a big occasion. Unfortunately, the Rhinos lost. But just in terms of the occasion, Reese, I felt like even though we lost, it still felt like a big occasion, not just for the Rhinos, but for the whole sport.
Yeah, it definitely did. I think Danica was probably summing it up best with Tanya Arnold on the BBC. They were so buzzing and excited for it. I think Danica was quite emotional as well. But I think it's just I think 6-7 years ago they were playing the Challenge Cup final at Dewsbury, and now they're playing at Wembley, and it just shows how quick and how far the game has come. And if you look at each of those grand finals, the Challenge Cup finals, the standards got even better as well. It deserves its place at Wembley. I can't remember the girl that played for St Helens that was talking with Danica at the end of the day. They're saying what's next, and they want the grand final. at Old Trafford beforehand.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it's exactly the right thing to do. But the good news is the Challenge Cup is going to stay at Wembley for the next 2 years for the women as well. But no, it was a really, really important and momentous occasion, not just for Leeds and Saints as the sides of the final, but for women's rugby in general to show how far it's come.
And I felt like even though the Rhinos lost, which was unfortunate, it was almost, and the ladies were clearly upset, but it was almost as if there was a bigger picture here. Like the bigger celebration was, we're playing at Wembley, we're still trailblazing. There's a lot of historic events happening in Women's Rugby League. There's a lot of firsts, and all these women that are playing now, that they must be aware of that they are breaking the mold, that they are going down in history.
Any girl that plays rugby now, picks it up at 12, 13, can now say, I want to play at Wembley. And it's realistic.
And it's not a dream. It can happen.
The only thing I was slightly annoyed about for the final, which is not their fault at all, and it's not the women's football team fault either, but the women's football team came on at the same time as the women would have taken a bit of TV audience away, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's a shame if one was after the other.
Yeah.
Or the day after, it would have gone like, oh, amazing women football. But also, there's a Women's Rugby League final coming on. It would just
jump on the curtain
bad
tails.
case of bad timing. But Adam just put in the comments, he's still got 240,000 watching it, which was still a good level.
Probably the biggest TV audience for a women's game, that I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it's not far off Sky figures, really, for some games, is it? And Channel 4 have been getting less than that for some games this season.
The game itself, I felt we were always going to struggle with no Kira. Obviously, she was suspended, and she is a class player. We're always going to speak highly of Kira and Sophie Robinson, though, because they've been guests on the podcast. So I felt we're missing her control and her drive, but I felt there were a couple of key errors at key times, but the start just wasn't there, conceding too many too early.
I think like the men's side, St. Helens men's side, they've got quality, you can't make a mistake because they'll make the chance of it, or if you can't have a lack of concentration, they'll make the most of it. So unfortunately, those 3 tries early on didn't really set the tone, but it was always going to be a hard to overcome challenge when you're 3 tries down after
especially in a cup final.
Yeah,
I felt the injuries as well. Was it Anderson and Hornby that went off injured? 2 props when we only had 1 prop on the bench. That was all. It was always going to be tough, but I still felt proud. I didn't feel any shame or anything from it, and I saw the bigger picture. But congratulations to St. Helens.
We won the Challenge Cup final because we had the best try.
Yes, Caitlin's try.
So Caitlin's try,
because that's how it works.
That's how it works. Yeah, when you lose. So Caitlin Brewer's try was awesome and the best on the day, and therefore we won the Challenge Cup.
So we are Challenge Cup winners. So
I am, although slightly worried. I'm not worried. I'm happy and worried because there is no way Caitlin's wearing a Rhinos jersey next year.
Really?
I think Caitlin is one of the next. If you look at the top women's team players in the Super League at the moment, Caitlin is up there and rightly, I think, deserves a shot at the NRL.
I think with 2. I think Caitlin is such a big. I X'd this. What do you say?
Exactly. This is why I just call it Twitter. Just call it Twitter.
I X'd it out about Caitlin being. She's such a big game player. There's been moments for Leeds where she scores these tries, she makes these plays. She seems to thrive on the big occasion, and I do think Caitlin could be the next to go to the women's NRL. But I think Kira's there as well, because put 2 and 2 together, I kind of feel like we always kind of advertise like we did similar with Georgia and Fran prior to them moving.
Yeah,
it's a double-edged sword, but I feel like Kira now being such good friends with Fran and and George being out there, I do feel like those 2 could potentially be next. Which
and whilst it's disappointing for the women to lose, last year they also lost to St. Helens in the Challenge Cup final, but then they went on to win the grand final. So the season's certainly not over, and they've got it in their back pocket, knowing that history they can repeat itself.
And there was a lot of ladies playing in this side in the cup final. Sorry, that are new to the side, because with us losing Fran and Georgia, 2 legitimate world class players, it was always going to be like a small transition period. to bring the new players through. So now they've played in a cup final for the first time. Some of them, when it comes to the grand final, they've got that experience now to beat Saints or York. No one else is getting there.
No, unfortunately not.
Congratulations to St Helens. They do, like Reece said, like similar to the men's side. They've just got a way of winning, and completely different to the men's side, who I can't stand. I actually like the St Helens women's side. I think they're gracious in defeat, and I felt good for the women's game. Congratulations, St Helens. Shall we open the mailbag?
We shall. It's a bit heavy.
Bloody heavy, this one, lad. I need to open it myself.
Well,
Are you going to start? Do you want me to
whilst
start?
you're opening it, I'll start it.
Go
So the
for it.
first question is from Justin, and his question is fairly simple. Why don't we pay fees for players? He's gone on to say Wigan have signed Dupree for a fee to address a key area in their squad, and we should be following suit.
Did we pay? Sorry.
No, I was going to say who. Go on.
I thought we paid a fee for Luke Gale.
I think we did. Not a lot.
I think
he's the last one.
Yeah. So we do pay fees. Fair enough. That was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But so we paid a fee for. I think it's first of all, is there that much money in the game across the board? Fair enough. Wigan have signed Dupree for undisclosed fee. We don't know how much that is, but when was the last time prior to that Wigan bought someone for a fee?
Did Wigan buy what's his face back, John Bateman?
Did they? I'm not sure.
I
just don't think. Who asked the question? Justin.
It's Justin.
I just don't think there's much money crossing palms in rugby league. I think it's just been highlighted that Wigan have made a substantial signing in Tyler Dupree. 160k for Gale.
Apparently, call it a
Paul Robinson says.
Paul Ramsden, yeah.
Comments. Wow, if we paid 160 grand for Gale, Castle laughing all the way to the back.
We got a Challenge Cup out of it. It's all right.
Yeah, that's true. Is the Challenge Cup win, Reece, worth 160 grand?
No,
I think it is.
No.
I think it is.
I don't think fees are genuinely part of the game now, because of the nature of contracts especially when the Aussies are over here, they just mutually terminate their contracts when they tend to go back. And I think the distance between Super League and NRL is so big now that you wouldn't see someone like Ali Lau or Kylie Ludowick coming across. And I don't know if we paid for them or not. I can't remember. But you just don't. I just don't think it's part of the game anymore. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be doing it, because as we've always said, we should be arrogant. We should be going after anyone because we're these rhinos. And they're going to. I think they're coming to the point now where it's coming towards the recruitment bit where most people are getting theirs done and we aren't. When they might not be left with an option but to pay a fee.
I don't know. I feel the two players that always get mentioned in Super League, certainly, when with fees involved. I don't know if it's just us that we just keep mentioning it, or if it's others, but it's Brodie Croft and Mikey Lewis. Those are the two players that we certainly speak about.
Did not like at fullback at the weekend, by the way.
No, don't like that.
I did not like the Mikey Lewis at fullback experiment. That did not look fun. But it looks like Wests will be paying for Brodie Croft anyway. It's a partner with Caesar.
Unsure, Justin. Not sure, but I do. I'm still quite patient in terms of our recruitment because there's still so much to happen in the NRL. There's always players that become available. Maybe we'll buy one of them. Thomas says, "Wow, your feelings towards Blake Austin turned from the sublime to the complete rubbish in a matter of weeks." What
that's his own doing.
That's Tom. He did that himself.
If he wasn't a dickhead, as Eddie called him last week, we wouldn't have called him rubbish or worse.
It
was his own attitude and display. It was his own fall from grace.
That was self-inflicted. I'm fairly certain we're not the only ones who thought he was awesome against. What was his last good game?
Wire. Huddersfield.
Everyone thought he were awesome then, and then absolutely pants afterwards. I don't think we're the only ones. But yeah, you're right. We did wax lyrical about him. But Tom, he's not the first player, and he won't be the last. Where we come on here and say, Aidan Seas after Salford, Reece said he was man of match. He were great. Week after, I think I said, I don't want to see this guy play for this club again. It happens, Tom. It's the nature of the beast in podcasting.
It is. Next one's from Ben. He said, I think Eddie made a great point regarding Leeming and Austin leaving and then both walking into our current side if you take their attitude away. And he has highlighted our recruitment off the back of them both leaving has simply not been good enough. Have the Rhinos just accepted that this year was one of hope rather than expectation?
I don't know about if they've ripped the season off. Do you? Do you think they've?
I don't think they've ripped the season off, but I don't think they set out the season to be ninth in this position in the time of year.
Yeah.
They can't write the season off because technically you can still go in the playoffs. We can, we're fans. But if you're writing it off in the changing room or in the club, then no wonder we're losing.
You've got bigger issues.
But I don't think they set out for this year to be a hope year. I think they thought they had good chances. It's just not turned out that way.
I do think they set out with some expectation, with high expectations, really, but it just doesn't. It doesn't pan out that way. Whether you mean have their expectation, have they just given up on the season off the back of Austin leaving? I'm not entirely sure because it was late in the day that, and he like we said on the Lee match review panel, Austin had to go after that podcast, after that clip went viral in rugby league terms. He had to leave. The club had to get him out, and that forces their hand to scramble around to try and find a player in probably under 24 hours. It was very unrealistic. What was more important was getting Austin out rather than bringing someone in. That tended to be.
But I think we'll be able to see if they think their season is over on Sunday and their reaction. They've had a week off. They've had time away. Austin's not been in there. They've had there's an opportunity for a leader to step up and shake the devil and get something out of it. So I think on Sunday we'll find out whether they've given up or not. But I've got a question actually about recruitment, and it's not on the mailbag, but who's got the worst recruitment so far in last recent months? Leeds United or Leeds Rhinos?
Oh, Christ. Can't we talk about them later?
I think we've got them later, actually. I think we do. I'll skip on.
We've got a couple of questions on them later.
It's Louise's question.
Oh, is it me?
Yeah.
Louise Martins asks, hi, lads. I've really enjoyed the podcast recently. Thank you, Louise. Even during defeats. Thank you for keeping us all going. I do enjoy how you try to take a positive from every game. That in itself always cheers me up somehow. No matter how small the positive is. I am still a believer that Smith will get it right in 2024, though I must admit I do just want this current season to be over with. Thanks, Louise. Do you agree with that, Reece? You just want this season to finish?
Yeah, I really do, to be honest. I just want I want to completely switch off from sport unless it's Jacksonville at the moment and the Reunion World Cup coming up, but that's not going to go well for Wales either. So yeah, it's not really fun. Like weekends are getting completely destroyed and demoralised at the moment. But like we say, we do try to take a positive from every game.
We do.
And if we didn't take a positive, Louise, we would just stand here and cry.
Yeah, we just try to find the smallest positive, and it's one of those things where me and Reece will talk prior to a pod, but we very briefly talk before podcast. So something that we always do is we decide the time when we're doing it and the time. Other than that, we kind of keep everything for the pod. So when I ask Reece what his positives are, I have no idea what Reece is going to say or any of the other guests. So all the positives.
Well thought out podcast. This well planned podcast. Really well.
Lots of production. Can't you tell?
Yvonne has asked a question which I find quite funny, which is anyone else worried about the lack of kits we've had this season?
It's a good point.
What was your bet?
I think I said 7 or 8 or 9.
We've had 4.
Did we have some retro ones?
Did we have some new retro kits, I think?
Home, away, third, Borough.
We definitely had some new retro kits.
And then we had
3 new retro kits.
Home, away, Borough. Alternative. How many what retro ones did we have then?
I don't know which ones
Was
they've
it
added, but
the
they've definitely added
99
some.
Rhinos ones? What did
They
do
added
then?
the maroon one with the black
Yeah.
middle bit. They added that one.
I bet they've had 7.
Let's have a look. Now the Maori kits don't count. So Paul saying Maori kits that doesn't count. That was like a training. The training range is a whole different
Christ,
number.
Paul, if we counted training ranges, we'll be up to
Would be.
62.
I
I bet we've had 7 kits this year, if you include the retro, which is still a shirt.
So BTR is saying 93-94 home shirt.
Yeah, that's another one then.
So that's another one. I'm trying to find the retro kits in the shop. Come on.
I bet there's been 7. Easy. I think it's just been a lack of first team shirts. We usually have at least 6.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't find the retro shirts on the website for some reason. I don't know why.
I'm going to say 7.
Yeah.
So I bet we've had 4 home away, alternative Doddy / Rob, and then 3 retro. So I bet we've had 7.
95-96 was a new one. 93-94, which was said. There's a cotton one. I think there's 4. So it's 8. I think we added 4 retros. So
8
I think we're on
shirts
8.
this year.
We're either 7 or 8. I think
we've had, although it feels like a lack of kits.
Yeah.
I think we've had more.
Still time.
It's just been, still time, Yvonne.
Yeah.
Might be a grand final kit. Luke says disconsolate. Did you say disconsolate?
I did.
Because when this got sent in, I was like, I don't think you said that. I didn't. Anyway, you did. Disconsolate is the perfect word to sum up the whole Leeds Rhinos season. Kudos to Reese. He has summed everyone's feelings up in just one word. Quite disconsolate. People were loving that word, Reese.
I can't remember what it means. No. Something about unable to. Someone can't make you feel better.
Yeah, so upset that you can't.
Yeah,
your emotions like can't change or something. I did like it. Disconsolate. It's rang true with Luke anyway. Do you still feel
very unhappy and unable to be comforted?
Do you still feel that way?
It's the thing I hate about sports is that I'm starting to feel optimistic and looking forward to Sunday now, which I hate. So no, probably not at the moment. Think of our chances for the season. I still feel disconsolate, but it's why I hate sport is that I'm still looking forward to Sunday, and I know but I know I shouldn't be. But yeah, so no, for the season, yes, I am for Sunday now. Jack's question is thoughts on whoever won the Challenge Cup. So Jack sent this before Saturday.
He did.
And for those that don't know and haven't watched it, which I don't know.
Spoiler alert.
Lee beat Hull KR in Golden Point. I think it was 17-16, I think.
17-16. It was a really good game, especially for like
brilliant game.
Yeah, the to and throw. It was very much a classic Challenge Cup final. Like, very. It kind of doesn't matter in terms of the quality of the game if the score's tight.
I thought the quality was still quite good, though. I thought some of the tries were great. I thought it was a really good game. It was a game that I was planning on just doing some stuff in the background and having it on. But I didn't do anything. I was full on glued to it. I thought it was a really good game of rugby. I actually think made even better by the fact it wasn't one of the. I think there was a stat on there like it was a first final that didn't involve Saints, Leeds, Bradford, or Wigan, or Wire for like 20 years or something like that. And it was. I think there's the teams are in it. Both deserve to be there. Both been on the rise. And you know what? Hats off to Derek Beaumont and Lee, because we took the piss out of it at the beginning of the season. Everyone took the piss out of it at the beginning of the season. And you can't not just admire them for how they've played this season and winning a trophy and I think second or third in the table.
And you've got to, because I was kind of thinking as well after they'd done it, that Lee team, I mean, I know they've just won the cup and they're going well in the league, but that is a really rubbish squad. I mean, honestly, come on.
There was quite a few Leeds Rhinos players on
I know, but I'm being brutal here, but I mean, if half the sides in the league would have signed Tom Briscoe at the start of the year, we're glad they let him go. Because a lot of Leeds fans were saying, myself included, this guy's finished. He's gone. He's gone
Well,
to Lee. Scored in the cup
They've played
final.
him on winger, haven't they? They've played him at wing. We were playing him at centre.
He scored in the cup final again, and it's his 17th try of the season.
Yeah.
There isn't a Leeds player with 17 tries, is there?
Nope.
And then you look at Oliver Holmes.
Yeah.
Oliver Holmes, he's diabolical. He's gone to Lee, and he's won a Challenge Cup. You know, these type of Gareth O'Brien, players like this, they're journeymen.
That was nearly poetic justice, by the way. Gareth O'Brien in Golden Point, I thought if he gets a 1-pointer over Hull KR here, all those Hull KR fans are like, it's happening again.
He's done it again. I mean,
I could see it happening as well.
I'm kind of saying this, but I'm kind of putting it. My angle is if these players who I've mentioned and a couple of others would have been signed by other clubs that have been like, no way, but they've gone to Lee. I've kind of marking this up as like Wimbledon when they won the FA Cup.
Someone said the crazy gang.
Yeah, I'm getting that similar feel of the togetherness of the side is overruling everything. It's like they've completely bought in to Derek Beaumont, to Adrian Lamb, to the game plan, and it's just completely come to fruition. And congratulations.
Just like that from the Curious D, he's put in the chat that Ava Suamangafai has only played 2 seasons in the Super League and he's won the Challenge Cup both times. That's good, that. I like that.
It's not a bad record, that, Ava.
It's not.
A bad record. No, congratulations to Lee. I thought it was a great game. And like Reece said, you know, 2 sides that were both desperate to win it. I think that added to it. The only way that final could have been made better is if Leeds Rhinos were playing in it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And won it, of course. Yeah. Next question is from Lewis. And Lewis says, James Bentley was in Perpignan. Is that how you say it? On holiday this week. Is anyone else worried about this? Are you worried that James Bentley went on holiday to Perpignan?
There's 2 things about this, actually. I'm actually a bit annoyed that none of the men's side were down at Wembley supporting the women. I don't know if any of the Saints men's players were there. Obviously, I know Gary Harrington was there because he walked them out, but I'm a bit disappointed that, you know, we're meant to have this one club mentality. I know the players might have needed the break, but London's not a bad city to have a break to either. So maybe a team bonding, bit of a, you know, mediation session between all the guys, but I'm a bit disappointed it didn't go. I think, well, I was a bit worried at first because Catalan put that tweet out about the arrivals board. And then I saw that Bentley was in Perpignan and thought, oh, am I putting 2 and 2 together there? But it turned out to be Theo Farge, didn't it? Am I too worried about it? No, I think we've got really good depth at second row, to be honest. And I'm not too worried about it to the extent that if we lost Bentley, we've got McDonnell. If we get a centre, then Martin can play back in the second row. We've got Joe Gibbons, Leon Ruin coming through the academy. You've still got Morgan Gannon to slot back in there. I think we've got a lot of depth. And if anything, James Bentley and Catalan feel like a match made in heaven, both grubby. He's got a disciplinary record that Catalan would search for. Yeah,
and I know I believe he's specifically gone there to sign for them. I think that's no coincidence at all. It will be announced sooner rather than later that James Bentley has signed for Catalans. Am I gutted? It's difficult because I do really like him. I like his attitude.
He works hard.
He does, but has he been in form? The back end of last year, which I keep going on about, he was awesome.
I think Catalan will pay him
this year at all.
I think Catalan paying the money that he will probably want. I know he took a pay cut to come to Leeds, but I think Leeds will be wanting to make him take another pay cut. And I have a feeling that Catalan are more likely going to offer more.
Well, the proof will be in the pudding. If he goes there and tears it up, is one that's gone away. But there's not many players that leave us that go on to have a better career or a better stint at another club than they did at Leeds. That's just a fact. So I'm expecting much.
Except the 3 players that won the Challenge Cup on the weekend.
Except almost.
And that's just on the Lee side.
They all won grand final.
Minchella, Harry Reinhold.
Apart from Jimmy Kynehorst. Zach won one with us.
Yeah.
Tommy, he won more than one. So did Zach. So yes.
Next question is from McCourtney. Said, love listening to the show. Question for you. What have you made of the Rhinos' transfers over the past 5 to 6 years since Burrow and Maguire retired? Rate it out of 10.
One thing, McCartney, that people say is, and it kind of irks me. They say we don't sign big name players, we don't sign big quality players. And if you look back over the past 5 or 6 years, as you've asked, in that time we've signed Trent Merrin, Australia international. I think he was the captain of St George. I believe he's played Origin for New South Wales. Tui Lolohea. Now, bear in mind, the players I'm going to mention, their careers at Leeds with us might have been diabolical, but when we signed them, they were a big name, or the potential were there. Tui Lolohea played for New Zealand, played for Tonga. Zane Tetavano, come on. When you talk about marquee signings, this guy has all the criteria. New Zealand, NRL winner, twice, I think. He is a marquee signing. When Zane Tetavano popped up, that is exactly what you want from a marquee. Aidan Caesar, NRL. Did he win the Man of Steel or Man of Steel contender at Huddersfield?
Man of Steel contender, obviously grand finalist in NRL.
So clearly got the pedigree. Matt Pryor, New South Wales origin, Australia. David Fusitua, top try scorer in the NRL 1 year. Played for Tonga. Conrad Hurrell played for Tonga. None of them worked out. I think all of those I've just mentioned. Matt Pryor had a good, I would say, had a good, solid career with us. The rest, mark that out of 10. 4?
Yeah. I was going 4 or 5. The names are good at the time, but obviously what we got didn't pass through, did it?
Who else has come through that we haven't mentioned?
In terms of big names,
Hardacre worked out to a degree. Second time round, got to the grand final.
I don't think. Yeah.
Cruz Leeming,
Keith Galloway.
Oh crikey!
Brett Ferris.
Yeah, Ferris, another one. Won a grand final. I'd probably say 4 out of 10 since I'm going since 2017 because that's when.
Luke Gale, Rob Louis. Yeah, it's a 4.
There's not been
because if you look at the trophies in the 5-6 years prior to Burrow and Maguire, we haven't matched that or come near it.
One Challenge Cup and one grand final appearance. So I would say 4 out of 10.
I agree.
It's my question, isn't it? I keep forgetting. Excuse me. Where are we?
It's Megan's.
Megan Holdsworth. What do you think our 1 to 13 squad numbers will look like in 2024? What do you reckon, Reese? Squad numbers for next year.
Well, with 10 players going out, we might have 10 gaps. But I think number 1 is vacant.
Yep, agreed.
I think Fussy will probably end up staying, so 2 will stay.
Yep, got
that. Newman McDonald will stay.
Yeah.
Ash will stay.
And then Ash, yeah.
6 vacant.
Yep. New 6 and 7.
I'm being realistic in this, and I think number 7 will be Myler.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Really?
I think it will be.
Joking on my drink?
Yeah.
Christ. So, Duncan will explode.
I know he will. I just don't. I'll be very impressed if we manage to go get 2 halfbacks and a fullback. Be very, very impressed. So I'm just going medium. I'm saying a halfback and a fullback.
Right.
8, Olensky won't change. 9, Jared O'Connor will take the number 9.
Yeah.
10, is that a Holroyd already?
I think he's 18. I think 10.
Okay. Is it Tetavano?
Tetavano, yeah.
Yeah. Holroyd up to 10.
Yeah, agreed.
I'd be moving McDonnell up to 11.
Yep.
Martin 12. Cammy 13.
Cammy 13. I agree with that. That's exactly as I said. Apart from in the halves, I've got 2, a completely new halfback combo there and a new fullback. I think that's vital. So there'll be a new 1, 6 and 7 for me. I would then promote Jack Sinfield to 14 because he has to be
Do you
around
not,
the
do you not
squad
feel like
next year.
14 is like a number for a hooker?
Just
Like,
that utility for me.
yeah.
That kind of. So I would move him to 14 because he has to be. He has to play more next year. He has to position on the bench, starting games, either or both. He must play. And then the other one I'd promote. He had a bad injury this year. He's kind of coming through with
Max
Simpson. I'd push
Yeah,
him up to above 20.
18.
So 17, 18. I'd give him one of those because if you think this year, he would have had loads of game time with
He would have
Harry
done.
getting injured. So unfortunate that Max got injured as well because I know we've said this quite a lot, but the start of the year, he was on that Ivan Drago program. And, he looked amazing in pre-season, really, filled his frame. Kind of like Harry did that time. We were like, wow, Leeds have obviously filling out these centres and getting them to peak condition. And he were raring to go, man. And you think that would have been his chance. I haven't forgotten about him. And that's because these two, by that I mean Simfield and Simpson, they're the next two off the conveyor belt. I don't know who's behind those because we haven't seen.
Would you bump Corey up into the top 20? Because Paul's up saying he'd have given Corey 14, and I would have been tempted to give Corey 14 because I think at the moment he's probably ahead of Sinfield in the halfback pecking order.
Well, he is under Rowan for whatever
Under
reason.
Rowan.
I don't know why.
Yeah, under Rowan he is, yeah.
But he is.
I don't think Corey could do a bad job, to be fair. And Adam said about Gudemond, Gudemond, he's at 16 or 17. I think Gudemond will be 15. 15's a good second row number in it. Brett Ferris.
He's between. He's the rest in it from
Did Delaney
14
wear
to
15?
20.
Delaney wore
Pardon?
15, didn't he? Delaney wore 15. No, he wore 3
Delaney.
then 15.
Yeah, Delaney did.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's how I'd go.
Next question is from Marcus, and he said, so the Daryl Parrell sack race comes to an end. And does that, the podcast comes to an end as well. No,
Bye.
At last, he said, where do you think he will end up next?
Castleford.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the only club that I'll have him.
It'll
probably be at Castleford the end of this year. Or not same thing. Before start of next year, he'll be at Castleford. What do you think?
I think he'll be in that area.
I
don't think he'll be at Cass.
Don't you? What are you thinking, Wakey?
Fev.
Back to Fev. Yeah, I don't think he's not the coach. Never has been. He's been living off the back of that run he had with Cass, which is the best for Cass. It's gone down in history. It's the most historic run for Cass in their lifetime. Challenge Cup final in 2014 and Grand Final 2017 and League Leaders Shield. But not for me. I've never particularly rated him at all. I think he'll go back to Cass. It's a match made in heaven because he could stay at Cass for the rest of his career till he's 80, couldn't he? He could stay there forever. And they love him there. But I was amazed because I was amazed Warrington sacked him, to be honest, because I'm fairly certain that at the start of this year, was he in a pub getting hammered?
Yeah, I think they'd won 8 on the bounce, and they were jumping up and down. Yeah,
didn't they win the league off the back of that?
Yeah, they did. The season was over.
Yeah. So why did Warrington sack him?
Yeah.
I mean, how embarrassing!
Yeah.
What a thoroughly embarrassing thing for him to do. And now look at him; he's down the road, lost his job. I'm so glad. I've said this before, but I'm so glad that we conduct ourselves off the pitch better than any other club in the league.
I'm also very glad that Justin Holbrook didn't go to Warrington.
Yeah, I am, to be fair, because he would have done.
Because it might have actually been their year if Holbrook went there.
Yeah, he is a quality coach.
But yeah.
The next question is from the two Georges, and they say, hello all. George and I still watch along to the shows on YouTube. My wife and I laugh whenever what seems to be one of the podcast's catchphrases is muttered. Cover your ears, George. That's what they're alluding to. George still watches and has even started playing bits of rugby league in our yard. We'd like to know if you could put 2 ex-Leeds players in the current Leeds side, who would you choose and why? Reese, 2 ex-Leeds players?
Danny Maguire. Crap. Hang on.
It's slacking on the bell.
I am slacking, aren't I've got the standing desk now. I've completely lost everything. Just make a ding noise. Will you? Ding. There we go.
Ding ding.
Yeah, Dan Maguire 6, and I would also bring in Jamie Peacock.
Jamie Peacock. I'll choose 2 other players then, because they'll both, all 4 are going into the same side. That's the rules. We're not just having 2 in 2 different sides. We're having all 4 in the same side. So I'll go Kev to play halfback with Danny, and then fullback Brent Webb.
Brent Webb.
That wouldn't be bad, would it?
No.
That would cure all of our issues. Brent Webb, Danny, Kev, and JP. That's what ages? 24. They're all 24, 25. Maybe a bit later for JP.
I think JP
28.
in the 2011-12 sort of era.
Yeah.
For me.
That's another 4, 5, 6 grand finals.
I'd even take Danny too. I've even taken the 2017 version.
I'd take Danny now.
Yeah, take Danny.
I'll take this version. What, 40-year-old Danny? It's nice to know you're still listening, George.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is one of our catchphrases. I do feel like we have cut down on the swearing quite significantly.
We haven't had Mark and Duncan on for a while, though.
No, and Duncan hasn't sworn since George messaged in the first time, saying that he was a young listener to the mailbag. So we will continue to say "cover your ears, George."
Might be the first line of merch we ever do. Just cover your ears,
George.
Next question is from Bianca, who says there seems to be a new football documentary type series out almost weekly. Why don't we ever see one for a rugby league side?
There does seem to be a lot of football ones. There's a Newcastle one now. There's obviously the Wrexham one.
Is that All or Nothing, is it?
I think so. There was a Burnley one on Sky, I think. I don't. Why isn't there rugby league? I don't know. I think it would be.
I'm not sure why there isn't. I think obviously it's not as big as football. There's not as much interest into it. I think the NRL going into Vegas may help. I think an All or Nothing type series for a team in the NRL and Super League, but I think in the NRL would be amazing. To be honest, because there's no point doing it in the international game. Like they've All or Nothing on the All Blacks, but doing it for the Warriors in the NRL, I think would be great. The only Kiwi team in Australian League. Yeah,
imagine if they'd have filmed it this year as well when they're making playoffs and Sean Johnson's in the
third
in a super.
That's why I'm positive.
Mode.
That's why I'm positive. Someone asked how he's doing a positive. It's because the Warriors are doing all right.
The Warriors are ripping it up. I don't know why, Bianca. Is the demand there? I don't know. Are people even aware of rugby league from us? I don't know, but I think you have to speculate to accumulate. And I know F1. I think they did a Netflix
Drive to Survive. Completely
and
changed the American market.
Exactly. Or just off the back of that, they got loads of new fresh eyes on it. So if some production company or broadcaster ever felt the need, it would help us. But I just don't know why. But we don't know why for loads of things, do we? It's not just we're always constantly saying, not just on here, but everyone's like, why don't we do X, Y, and Z to promote the game? But
if they did like a Take Us Home style documentary, they did for Leeds United, but they did it for Leeds Rhinos, I hope we would be included, as the unofficial Leeds Rhinos podcast.
Two talking heads there.
Like the camera there, look, I can see it right now. might make our budget a bit bigger.
Yeah, we're open to offers. Contact our agent. Laurie, yeah. Emily says, let's say if Leeds Rhinos are the good guys of Super League, who are the villains? Really enjoy your content.
Thanks.
Keep it up.
Thanks,
Emily.
Thanks.
They're the bad guys. Oh, they are. They're shocking. You think of Paul Wellens, just goes into a press conference and blasts the whole RFL match review panel. Did anything come of that?
No, him and Paul Rowley got referred, didn't they? So I don't think anything's come of it yet. But him and Paul Rowley have both been referred to someone.
They should get a bollocking. Johnny Lomax is a cheat. Who else? Morgan Knowles is the biggest grub, probably in Super League history. I can't think of anyone more grubby than him. Matty Lees has got 2-game ban from a high shot on Joe Greenwood this weekend, I think it was.
I haven't seen that, actually. I need to watch that.
They are disgusting, Emily. It's definitely St. Helens. They are. Horrible. Do you agree with that then? Just Saints?
Yeah. Easy. Laurie said, and also Chief talking Maverick.
Do you know what? We're trying to get through.
Ollie's then just said John Wilkin.
John Wilkin. Yeah, that's true. That is true.
The Mort, which I've mistakenly thought was the Mole, then from Australia, I thought, wow, we are getting bigger. But no, it's the Mort, who has said, I don't have a big issue with the players leaving the club, but the manner in how they've left with Rowan Smith has been farcical and almost embarrassing. First Hardacre messing around, Leeming, then Walter's situation, now, of course, Austin. Is there a bigger issue as to why this is happening? Is this deterring potential signings?
I don't understand how it's farcical or embarrassing. Does it mean from Smith saying in the press conference, we're kind of thinking...
I think the manner of which they've left in terms of the play. I'm not sure if it's farcical on the player or farcical on the club, but we didn't really have... Again, I hate going back to the golden generation era, but I can't remember many times in that era where a player stopped saying, player thought they were bigger than the club.
Yeah.
But the Walter situation, I know you're not happy about Walter's not staying, and he should have stayed. But you know, it was quite easy for us to snap him up. And we've let that go. Hardacre, I can kind of understand. We were only positioned to offer him 1 year because of the salary cap, and that's the salary cap. But in terms of why it's happening, I don't know. It's very strange to have two players leave in a season because or be pushed out from that perspective.
I think, like we kind of said earlier, Austin had to go. Hardacre, we were never going to match the money that Lee offered him.
Or the year.
All the, the 2 years. And he is in the twilight, quote unquote, years of his career. So that was his last big deal. So it was a no-brainer for Zach to kind of go across to Leeming. Just threw his toys out the pram because Jared were getting the game time. He'd lost the captaincy. Don't know if something had happened between him and Smith and then we had the Austin thing. Is this deterring potential signings? Well, the proof will be in the pudding. Again, when we come to the start of 2024. How's the squad looking? Have we made numerous signings, which is exactly what's required? So I think come kick-off 2024, the more, that'll be kind of the yardstick for if everything that's happened this year has deterred any potential signings. But I don't know how the club could have handled any of this that you've mentioned it any better, if I'm being honest.
They could have sorted Austin out earlier.
They could have sorted Austin out earlier, but then...
And Walters.
He's kind of, cover your ears, George, come across his true colours of showing himself to be a dickhead. So if we'd have signed him, excuse me, if we'd have signed him for the 2 years, who could have said he wouldn't have turned into a dickhead? So maybe we've dodged a bullet with that one. Walters, he's the one that got away. That's the Hardacre. I don't know. I'm 50-50. Walters is the one that got away. Leeming, I still can't say I'm that fussed he's left. Walters is the one because the potential for him there. I don't want him. I want him to go to Wigan and have the worst career of anyone imaginable. But make no mistake, his potential is sky high. And if Wigan play him and start him at prop, then we'll see. We'll see. Frank says, we saw a throwback in the NRL recently when a kicking duel took place. I think it was Manly versus some people in the comments might tell us. Is there something that no longer happens in rugby league that you'd like to return? Perhaps an old rule. Any rules or anything you'd like to see come back, Reece?
Leeds winning grand finals.
Yeah, that were great.
Let's bring that back. Let's bring grand final wins back.
Wins are back.
I enjoyed that.
They were really fun.
So the kicking duel. I've missed the kicking duel, by the way. So, and I've never seen. The only thing I can think of a kicking duel is when it's rugby union and they're kicking it from either end.
Yeah, it's really boring.
Did that happen in an NRL match last weekend?
Recently. I think it was Manly or something.
How did that happen?
It used to happen, but it was boring anyway. Even when it's like the worst thing. It's two players.
Oh, I hate it when it happens in Union. I hate it when it happens in
horrible.
Union. Yeah.
It's horrible. Swapping ends at half time, Laurie says. I did enjoy that. The fans used to swap ends. So if you're behind the sticks at one side,
Oh, yeah.
you'd
Well,
swap to
people
the
still
other
do
side.
it in the South Stand. They swap parts of the South Stand.
Yeah. I did enjoy that.
I'm trying to think of any other rule an old rule that...
The free play. I loved the free play. That should have stayed. And every time we had a free play, I used to always say, kick it. Kick the ball, chase it, because you don't know what you're going to get the ball back.
Yeah.
You kick it, you might score from it. And shoulder pads. What happened to shoulder pads? Do you remember in like the late 80s and mid 90s? Schofield, massive shoulder pads. Bring them back. And if there was a rule to change, I know this wasn't the question at all, or to add a new rule, mine would be a bigger bench.
Oh.
So there's only 4 players on the bench now. A bigger bench from 4 players to 7.
Just a bigger bench to fit 4 people on it? Or like...
Yes, I mean, you can sit there.
Yeah.
Dente Avano can smack me out end of my nose. So you can have more players on the bench. Same amount of interchanges, but more utility there. So imagine a bench where you could have 2 halfbacks. So the 2 halfbacks you've got, they're not working.
I kind of like the fact that there's only 4 because you've got to be more tactical about it. Maybe going to 5 to allow for... I just think some teams would just have 5 props on the bench, which might not be a bad thing at the end of the day.
Wigan.
Yeah, because they're signing them all.
The whole
Adams
front and back row.
Yeah, Adam said in the comments he'd like to see the captain's challenge brought in, which I agree with. But I think the thing I would want to change is had a couple of things I'd change actually. Every game needs video ref.
Yeah.
Like that has to change. Yeah. I also think you either get rid of 6 again or you can't have a 6 again on the first tackle.
It's a penalty. Yeah.
It's a penalty. Because I think it was Derek Bowman actually was saying that you should be able to give the captains an option. I think that's just overcomplicating it and it's just there's too much involved in it and things will get missed. I think if it's done on the first, you don't get a 6 again on the first or second tackle maybe.
Yeah. Third
it's a penalty.
Because
it's just been abused now. So that would be the thing that I would change first. Harry's question is, guess we're not talking about the Fantasy League anymore, eh?
No.
Do you know why, Harry? Because we're doing really, really shit.
Because we're really crap at it. That's why, Harry.
Although I believe last time I saw, because last time I went on the website, it took me 35 minutes to
log in.
The website up, so log on, yeah. But we were sent a screenshot, weren't we, of who was top, and we were saying that I can't remember who was. Is it Brad or someone else? John Winter, I think it was. He would just storm it, but it happens to be one Mr. Josh Heffenman that is currently top of the fantasy league.
Josh,
of the
one of our regulars,
is
top, and coincidentally sent the screenshot into the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, funny enough, yeah, he's the only one that's been tracking it for every round.
He genuinely plays it all the way through.
Yeah, he
does. I think he's one of the only maybe 20 people in the world that do it.
Yeah.
Who asked the question? No, Harry. It's one of the many things that we start and never finish. It's mainly because we're rubbish at it, but and also we genuinely did think that John Winter had like a 500-point lead or something.
He had something stupid after 3 rounds.
After like 2 rounds, and we were just like, "Oh, he's won it. No one's gonna catch him." But Josh has. I don't know where. No, we've kind of. It does still exist. I think the details are on Laurie's Loiner's View page, but we've not touched that since round 1, round 2.
2, I think.
It's gone, Harry. It's gone.
Yeah.
Completely forgotten about it. Joshua says, I love the Vegas fixtures the NRL are putting on next season. Are you a fan? Should Super League follow suit and do something similar? And if so, where?
It feels a little bit like a mini Magic, almost, doesn't it? Am I a fan of it? I'm intrigued more than anything to see what the American market will do with it, because I imagine a load of Aussies will go over there, and there'll be Aussie and Brits expats that will go to it. But I'll be interested to see what the American population that goes to it, because they don't seem to really have got behind rugby union yet, or rugby league or rugby union. Like they've managed to sell out some. I think New Zealand played Ireland in union over there, and they managed to sell it out. So Maybe it'll work. If we were to do it, I would do it as a Magic weekend, but on the new camp in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Because they've had like 30, 50, 40,000, wasn't it, for a game once, I think, there? Or something like that. Catalan played there once.
Yeah, they did. They played Wigan there after they won the Challenge Cup. Got a great crowd and never did it again.
Yeah. So I think like a Magic style round at the new camp.
Yeah.
What I'd do.
I think just on the Vegas thing with the NRL, I think this is the NRL putting the feelers out for Origin. I think in 2-3 years' time, 4, 5 max, Origin will be played outside of Australia. Now, I know that the NRL is worth billions, but they really want to open because it's so Australian, which I don't think they particularly care about. But I think they want to open up Origin in particular to new markets. And you think if the Vegas games sell well, which I do think they will, and if it's something they do year on year, I think Origin will go to America. I think they'll have a test out there.
If Origin was at Wembley or Old Trafford, do you think it would sell out?
I think it'd sell out within 2 hours.
I think it would.
Yeah, I do.
I'd go. I would go.
If Origin was played in this country, it'd sell any stadium out within hours. I'm adamant. Yeah, absolutely adamant. If you think the grand final kind of sells out at that dump, this Origin would, if it was at that dump, it would easily sell out. The Rugby League heartlands, it'd sell out easily. And this is just me putting 2 and 2 together, but I think the Vegas thing is a taster to see if they can take there. Or they have played Origin once in LA.
So Carson's saying they played Origin once in the LA in the 80s. Which is interesting.
We'll do it again. We'll take it once
next
more.
question is from Vicky, and Vicky is asking, I need some new podcast / YouTube channels to get into. Are there any you guys would recommend?
Loose Forward. If you're after Rugby League, you probably do listen to them. They just basically review the whole of the Super League round previous, and then they touch on NRL. They have other discussion topics, and they run a prediction league with Brian Bry from Six Again, all friends of the pod. That's worth listening to. Red Robin, Hulk AR podcast. Even though it is a Hulk AR podcast, it's always nice to get other fans' views. They're friends of ours. Any others you'd?
I've got plenty of non-rugby league ones.
Go for it.
So
what's that chocolate one you always?
We got the chocolates. So that's literally the first one I was going to say. So really good podcast. It's on YouTube as well, Vicky, called We Got the Chocolates. It's 4 Aussie guys. We've got the women on it, quite a few women coming on it often as well. It's just a load of dad jokes and puns, and it's just daft and silly. They're into sport. A couple of weeks ago, they did a 1 to 13 of rugby layers with puns with puns as their name. So which is brilliant. I'll have to share some later after this. But yeah, really light-hearted, just easy listening and funny. In terms of other podcasts, it probably depends what you're into. Another really good podcast that I like is the Friendship Onion, which is done by Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan. So those of you that know Lord of the Rings will know those two names. They don't talk about just Lord of the Rings. They talk about loads of things that they've done, like Lost and all this sort of thing. But they're quite fun together and do loads of interviews. In terms of YouTube, depends what you like. But there's a guy called Trek Trendy on YouTube, and he does all like the first class flights and experiences like the La Premiere and Air France and these like proper luxurious cruises and stuff, and it's just like how the other half lives sort of thing. But I always find it really interesting, and stuff like that. And then in engineering, if you don't like engineering stuff, the B1M is really, really good as well on YouTube.
There's loads, Vicky. It's endless. Throw yourself into something new. Excuse me. Liam R says, cover your ears, George. The Rhinos are shite. Let's talk Leeds United. What do you think to their start of the season, and how will their season end? Do you want to start with Leeds United? Statman Reese?
Not really.
Big sigh. Sharp intake of breath.
It's just, oh my God. It broke me like.
Exactly. It is just, oh my God, precisely.
I listened to Square Ball on Saturday, and tell you what, talk about being despondent or disconsolate. You could tell how downhearted they were after the game on Saturday, especially the news of Sinistera and everything. It's just now Harrison's gone. It's an absolute farce. And I always kind of thought it was going to be a 2-year project to get Leeds back. It's definitely one now, if not 3. I really hope Farker knew what he was getting into, because this is an absolute shitstorm that he's got now.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Harrison one annoys me anything. We gave him a new contract, 2 months before the season ended, when we were in the relegation zone, and put a loan release clause in if we got relegated, when we were in the relegation zone. And we've done that with 7 or 8 other players. So no wonder there's an exodus, because they're all taking advantage of this clause. There's no loyalty really in football. They all chase the money. But yeah, how will it end? Mid-table.
On the Harrison thing, he was going to sign for Leicester in the January.
Yeah.
He didn't go to Leicester. He wasn't playing for us. And yet, I think it was 4 or 5 weeks later, maximum, we gave him a new deal.
Yeah.
And
in the relegation zone with a loan release clause.
With everything that you've just... And it's like, hang on. 4, 5, 6 weeks at absolute maximum. We were trying to ship this guy out to a relegation rival.
Yeah.
What's changed in that tiny period of time where we're now handing him a massive additional contract length and a loan release clause if we get rid of... I mean, that just sums up United.
I saw rumours that Sinistera was going back on loan to Feyenoord. So basically we paid 23 million just to have him on loan for a year.
To take him on loan?
He was arrogant. I went to watch him on Wednesday night against Shrewsbury. He was really arrogant on Wednesday night in terms of how he came across. But no, I don't think it's very good for Leeds. I think Orta and the board have absolutely screwed us. I think Parag Marta's potentially screwed himself over by saying we're going to be aggressive. Because we have been aggressive. We've just got rid of everyone.
Yeah, just get rid of them all.
Leicester and Southampton have got rid of 3 players and both paid 75 million. We've got rid of 11 or something like that and made 3.
Well, you look at the loss on Rodrigo alone. What did we spend on Rodrigo?
27 and we let him go for 3.
The loss there is astronomical. And this is going to happen with the rest of the squad. I mean, the fact that Nonto, Sinistera, Perkins, well, they all want to leave. They're all demanded to leave. Just let them leave. Who cares? Just get rid of them. What's more surprising to me was, well, not surprising, but that starting 11 that started against Birmingham, that's one of the worst United sides I've seen in years.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a couple of young kids in there, but Ian Poveda, I don't even know he still played for us.
To be fair, he was really good against Shrewsbury on Wednesday night.
That's probably his level against Shrewsbury. Ian Poveda, Dan James, Helder Costa. I thought we saw these people.
Not in the squad, is he?
Not in the squad. He's still.
Yeah, he doesn't want to play
with us. I mean, how are these players still even playing for us?
Yeah.
How are they still around? It's so depressing.
So
how will it end? Relegation.
No, shut up. To further your point about if they don't want to be here, let them go. Robbie has said a couple of years, George. Willie Nonto is a twat, just like Bay Costin. Something has happened to the water in Leeds, clearly.
And Sinistera. So,
and
Robbie,
Sinistera now.
Developing by the hour. If we go on to X now, there's probably another Phil Hay X post saying another Leeds player wants to leave the club. It's just...
I might just test that theory, by the way, whilst you ask the next question.
Full of twats. But I said this in my WhatsApp group to my friends. United will be in the relegation zone come the first international break, which I think is mid-September or late September. Mark my words, United will be in the relegation zone for that first international break. Joe asks, are you team Barbie or team Oppenheimer then? I'm going to assume Reese is a...
I've not seen either. I've not seen either.
I am team Barbie.
If I was going to choose one, it would be Oppenheimer.
Because I think Oppenheimer looks to be the most boring film.
Yeah, but for a history nut like me, it's fine. I'll watch it all day.
It just looks. I think I'd fall asleep within 10 minutes watching that. Barbie has Ryan Gosling in, and I love Ryan Gosling. So I'm a Barbie man, Joe. That won't surprise anyone.
Technically, it means you can.
I'm Ken. Onto the Twitter comment mailbag questions. If I can get them up. Have you got them up?
No.
You're still searching Phil Hayes
I'm still looking for tweets about Leeds United to see what's happening. Yeah,
to see if it's
see
back.
if anything's changed.
Has anything changed?
No, not I believe so. Just bear with us, people, while we
Scramble to find the mailbag.
scramble to find the actual mailbag. Again, as we said, we are fully prepared on this podcast.
Yeah, we are. Why can't I find it?
How many tweets have you done since then? Right. Okay, got the first ones from the sets of three seems to be the common theme on Twitter.
They do, yes, on the comments.
And the first ones are from Mark, and his question is: if Rowan Smith is the answer, what the fuck is the question?
Grand final winners. Will Leeds be the grand? Yes.
I'm going to say
Mark is one of our
leading
regulars.
calls,
He is
leading calls to Mark's aneurysm.
Yeah, Mark is the Church of Rowan leader. He isn't.
You'll love that. He's also asked, would you rather have sloth fingers or elephant feet?
What do sloth fingers look like?
This is what I was just about to do.
Are they like claws? I'm doing my little sloth hands there. I think they're more claw than...
Yeah, they're like a really long, like a Wolverine thing.
Yeah, I think they're really long. Look at my sloth hand. Really long claws more than...
Yeah.
Elephant feet.
I just think elephant feet would be impractical, so I'm going to go for the sloth fingers, I think.
I'm going to say sloth fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say sloth fingers. Definitely.
And the next question I might have to explain. And Mark has asked, is Reece still getting married after being exposed as the only gay in the village?
What on earth does that mean, Statman Reece?
It means that I had to wear a certain outfit on my stag do. And it was the only gay in the village from Little Britain.
And Reece is just going to get the picture up now. For
No,
all of our
nope.
YouTube
No. If we get to the grand final this year, I'll get it out. In fact, I'll wear it to the grand final if we get there this year. Yeah, that's where that question came from, Mark. So thanks very much. Yeah, Kirby Stephen was a bit weird at 9 o'clock in the morning with me walking around with that on.
Didn't enjoy it, no. Loiner's View. Good old Laurie from Loiner's View. 3 questions from Loz. Can you do the alphabet backwards? I can't. Can you?
Probably not. If I really thought about it, I reckon I could.
Y-W-V. No.
No, you got
I
it
can't,
right.
Laurie. I can't, Laurie. That was my pathetic attempt. Second question from Laurie. What's the most impressive thing you've seen a pet do? You've got a dog. What's the most impressive thing? That dog whose name I can never, ever remember. Maisie. What's the most impressive thing Maisie's ever done?
Not a lot, to be honest. I remember my old family dog picking up a squirrel in its mouth and then having the sheer... Oh, no, actually, no. Better story. A Westie. It was my old family dog was a Weinerama, and a Westie ran up to him. And my dog didn't know what to do, so he just picked him up in his mouth. Not to like bite him or anything, just picked it up and held it in his mouth. And this Westie's just squealing around everywhere. And my dad's like, shit, Harry, put it down and all that.
Put him down.
Picking up a full Westie in his mouth, I think, was probably the best thing I've seen a pet do.
That's the best thing I've heard as well, Loz. That very story there. Number 3 from Laurie. Settle an argument. Is sleeping on your front weird?
Yeah.
I don't think that's weird. Do you?
I've only ever done that if I've passed out, I think.
Really?
Do you know, well, hang on, what would be weirder? Like sleeping on your back like you're in a coffin? Like just like you were stood up but lying down, or on your front?
Why is sleeping on your front weird? I don't know why that's weird.
If your face is into the pillow, is that not weird? Or is your face turned in this scenario?
If your face is in the pillow, that's a suicide attempt.
Yes.
How are you going to breathe?
That is called asphyxiation, I think.
That is weird. But I'm assuming sleep on your front is on your front with your head tilted so you can. Is that? I don't think that's weird.
Mm.
Is that what it means?
I think so.
I sleep on my front with my head to the side,
Yeah,
which is why I'm getting these sleep lines on my forehead.
Uh,
Phil, one of our regulars, he
Yep.
says, if you could be Gary Hetherington with a checkbook, who would you buy and why? Who would you sign if you
Sean
could, Reese?
Johnson.
Sean Johnson. Reese is never gonna let Sean Johnson go.
You laughed at me at the beginning of the season. Look at him.
He's awesome.
If I could be Gary Hetherington with a checkbook, who would I buy? Take your pick of any Australian halfback.
Yeah.
Really?
Ryan Pappenhausen.
Yeah. Oh, geez, he's not
For
even
the mullet,
halfback, but the
yeah.
mullet, yeah.
Ryan Pappenhausen.
The real last answer is Nathan Cleary, probably. Oh, maybe Cameron Munster, but actually no, Ryan Pappenhausen for the mullet.
Yeah, Cam Munster. Yeah. Harry Grant. Yeah. Oh, there's loads. There's loads, Phil. Phil, you've been on here speaking halfbacks, and any one of those that we've mentioned 1,000 times.
We've got Bry's question next, and he sent 3 through as well. The first one is if you had to, hang on, Brian, what have you said here? If you had to be, what would you? If you had, what have you? How have you spelt that, Bry? Come on, we need to have words about this. This is
Clearly
what
drunk.
happens when you get educated in Liverpool. 6 again. I said, what would your go-to Halloween costume be?
Uncle
I think it's
Fester.
meant to be if
That's
you had
pretty
to wear
easy
it
for
the rest
me.
of your life. Uncle Fester.
The coat, the trench coat, and some dark eyes, and I've done it.
I think I am. No, Thor. Actually, I'm going to go Thor because I've obviously got the physique for Thor.
Yes, you clearly got the physique of a demigod, a god.
Yeah,
demigod.
God. Yeah, God. No, yeah, God.
God of thunder.
Bry's second question is, what is the worst piece of clothing you've ever worn? And again, I think Bry knows what I wore on my stag do, so I'm going to say that.
That cheeky little number. The worst piece of clothing I have ever worn. I don't know. Bry. I'm not fashionable. Probably some tan chinos that I once wore, maybe 15 years ago. Like, yeah, they were pretty shocking. I guess I'll say them.
And Bry's third question: a coin toss, should it decide more things?
I think so, but then don't you get that best of 3? That's what I always say when someone tosses a coin.
Yeah,
heads or tails, heads, and you go, a best of 3. So you'd have to do it 3 times. Do you know what's better than a coin toss, Bry? A coin toss. Rock, paper, scissors. That's miles better.
Rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock.
Yeah, that's miles
Even
better. That should. Or bring back replays. Get rid of the golden point. Ollie Warman, which positions in the squad would you invest for next year? For me, it definitely would be fullback and the halves. I think everyone on the
top
planet
3, halfback, fullback.
agrees with that. Would you agree with that?
Yep. Completely agree.
Is that it?
No, I've got 3 more from David. And David Grant has asked, you've been to the rugby before, but have you ever been to rugby?
No.
No, I've not.
As in rugby union?
No. The town called Rugby.
Oh, rugby? No.
No. I've never been either.
Sorry. No, I haven't. I wouldn't even know where it was. It sounds southern.
Yeah. It's where rugby union started, funnily enough.
Is it near Bath?
Probably.
I'm just completely guessing it. No, I wouldn't. I've never been.
David Grant also asked, who is the best superhero?
See, I often discuss this with my kids because I think, like any story, you need a good bad guy. You need good villains, and there's 2 really for me that have the best villains, which I think makes them the best superhero because they deal with all these villains, and that's Spider-Man and Batman. And I can't quite pick a winner because obviously Batman's got the Joker, Two-Face, Riddler, all those usual ones, and Spider-Man's got Doc Ock, Lizard, Green Goblin, Venom, Carnage. So One of those. I can't decide.
Just Iron
Who did
Man.
you say? Iron Man.
Just Iron Man. I'm an Avengers geek, so
That's true.
he saved the world. And Davey Grant's final question, which I believe is the final question
Of the mailbag.
is which players, it's a really good question actually, this, which players in the current squad do you think could eventually be a good head coach? There's one name I think that is the best option in this.
Who's that?
Our Lord, our Saviour, Cameron Smith.
Yeah, Cammy. That is a good one. It often tends to be players who you don't necessarily think would become a coach that becomes a coach, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like Danny Ward, who's now a coach, it's been at London, is now at Cass. When he were playing, if you'd have asked me that question, he wouldn't have been someone that, no offense to him or anything like that, but he wouldn't have been that kind of player that you'd say to be a coach. I'm going to say Jared. I think he's got the pedigree, obviously, in his name, and I think he might be one. And then I think Richie Myler. I think Richie Myler might.
Yeah, I thought Richie. The other one I thought was Morgan Gannon.
Yeah, Gannon. Another one.
Just seems far too intelligent.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably going to say Richie Myler, I think.
I think my main one's Cammy.
He speaks well with the media. He knows the game. He's played it long enough. He's won a couple of Challenge Cups. I think, I'm going to say Richie Myler. That's the end of the mailbag. It was a bumper edition. That should get you all through till the Warrington match review panel. I think Duncan's on with us. I think. Don't quote me on that. I think Duncan's back in town. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. We do stream all of our podcasts live on YouTube, so please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you just search for The Lot Pod on YouTube, we're there, and you'll get a notification every time we go live with these podcasts. And you can also join in with our YouTube live chat. Reese, thank you as always. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in the live chat. We'll be back to review the Warrington game for the match review panel. See you then.